same tune.
All right. How about that band? I love them.
That's Scarbinsky on the mandolin.
Yeah, and Brendan on the lead slide guitar. And
I'm the lead singer. What are you talking about?
lead singer. I love it.
I'm the lead singer.
Singer. I love it. We go sing. Hey, Rob Browne, Brendan Martin here with you on this Friday, February 6th, 2026. Look, great show today. Kevin Scarbinsky, you know him. Scarbo Knows, U.S. Basketball Writers Hall of Fame, the only writer ever from the state of Alabama to have that honor bestowed upon him about 3 years ago at the Final Four in Houston. Take a picture with your phone. Be cool of the QR codes. We're broadcasting live on 8 channels of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, remember, all of you that are watching this show, do us a favor. Facebook, share it right now. Share it with all your friends, families, neighbors, everybody.
If you're on Facebook, just hit the share button, share the show, comment on the show. It helps it out. It gets the algorithm going. If you're on Twitter, like it, comment, engage. That's what it's all about, folks. You engage with us, we engage with you. That's why we keep it live. That's why we don't do this thing to tape or anything like that. We come at you live. You can watch it now. You can watch it later. If you're on social media right now, do your thing. You know what to do. Woo, man. And we got Frank Duffy and Doug Dean and Kevin Scarbinsky and everybody else, I think, under the sun. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, it is going to be a fun one. Kevin,
Good
I know
morning.
you've got to go after about 15 minutes, and you're going to flip back in at half past the hour. But basketball-wise, let's just get your thoughts. SEC basketball, halfway point.
Well, today's one of the most important days in SEC basketball in recent history, and there aren't any games. But there is a court hearing in Tuscaloosa for Charles Bediako in his request for a preliminary injunction that would pretty much allow him to play the rest of the season. And based on the judge's rulings, this new judge, the original judge recused himself because he was an Alabama booster. This new judge is no friend of the program. He's already denied the Bediako team's request to extend the hearing or push the hearing back to next week or the week beyond. So we'll see. And then the most extraordinary thing, Greg Sankey coming out, putting out an affidavit or supplying an affidavit to the court, siding with the NCAA against Alabama in this case. I wonder how that's going to go when they sit down at spring meetings in Destin.
Well, how's that going to go tonight at the Birmingham Country Club in Mountain Brook? I'll just leave it at that. I mean, he won't be served. I mean, it could be. Look, Doug Dean sent me that last night. Kevin, you were also at the Memphis UAB game. Memphis got a win. They're 11-11. I got to ask you a question. Is there talk about schools with the $21.5 million rev sharing that the basketball schools will put almost every penny into basketball and football the same thing, and that could really hurt basketball unless you're, say, Kentucky or Arkansas?
Well, I can tell you that there are a number of people across the conference and within the conference office who are concerned about that. And the league that concerns them the most is the Big East. It's the UConns of the world, who are basketball-first programs. And UConn's already won 2 national championships. They won 2 in a row before Florida did it last year, and UConn's right back in the mix again this season. They're on the short list of teams that are most likely to win it all. So that is very much a concern of the SEC, and I imagine the Big Ten has the same concerns because those schools are going to put most of their money clearly into football. It's not the case if you're in the Big East, so that's going to give you a bigger war chest to go out and recruit some of the better players in the country.
We lost audio.
Yeah, Rob's. I see Rob's mouth moving, but
yeah. Hey, Doug, you sent me that last night. Kind of dovetail that into a question for Kevin because that no one saw that one coming from Greg Sankey.
Well, I was going. I'm fascinated by the notes. By the way, I'm only a week or so into phase 2 of life. Don't use the R word, retirement. Right. And it is surreal and glorious. Kevin can maybe on a smaller scale appreciate. Although Kevin never quit working, but
no, never have, probably never will.
Just became your own boss a little more. But I'm loving it. So I'm fascinated by the notion in this day and age with so much disinformation campaigns, sometimes intentionally created. The difference between signal and noise, to me, it's shocking, and I'm conflicted, guys, whether to compliment the moxie of administrative officials and Coach Oates at Alabama in flying through the eye of the hurricane and bringing Bediako in. You like your chances with the injunction, but everyone knows, even my good Bama friends say, well, it was a Tuscaloosa County judge that has season tickets, I think, to Alabama basketball, which is, there's no crime in that. But the signal is, Kevin, do you remember a time in which every SEC team would live in mortal fear of ever offending or getting misaligned with the SEC commissioner, especially Greg Sankey, who, for my money, I think he's done great things, and the league's power speaks for itself. The TV contract speaks for itself, but he's got a little of that brashness. I could see him having, I don't want to use the word vendetta, but I could see him not having a long memory about programs making moves like this one with Bediako that are not really, I mean, it's shocking that he would go to the trouble to submit an affidavit to the court. And there's a simple majority, probably a unanimous majority of SEC rival coaches that think this is bad for the sport as it sits. Your thoughts, Kevin?
Well, the problem is people try to throw a blanket over all of these eligibility cases, and they're just all different. And I know a lot of Alabama fans, after this news came out, immediately shifted to, okay, well, I can't wait to see Greg Sankey's affidavit siding with the NCAA against Trinidad Chambliss or against Joey Aguilar at Tennessee, who's also having a hearing today in Knoxville.
Yeah.
But they're not the same. There are different sets of circumstances, just as the Euro pros like Philip Jovic at Auburn, who Alabama's going to play tomorrow, they're not the same. They didn't go to college, play college basketball, leave college voluntarily to enter the NBA draft, which by rule, when you stay in the draft, makes you forfeit your remaining eligibility. It's a rule. And I know the rules are inconsistent and everyone can stand by that. But if we don't follow the rules that are on the books as they are until they are changed, then you have chaos. And that's what we have right now.
It's a lot of civil disobedience across our culture, not just in athletics. And, I give Coach Oates credit. I don't disagree with him that there is what's the right word? An inconsistency, a double standard is what I was after. With you can go get a professional European or wherever player from overseas that's ready, is plug and play, and they can really help you. The thing is, every team that wants to can recruit there. I guess you could fill out your entire roster with that if you want to apply the Signetti model to college basketball.
Yeah, and look, Tommy Lloyd's done that at Arizona, and they might be the best team in the country. I saw them run away from Alabama in the second half here in Birmingham back in December. Illinois has done it. Alabama beat Illinois earlier in the season in Chicago. Illinois has a number of former European pros. But even there, every European pro league is not the same. The Adriatic Basketball League that Philip Jovic played in Serbia is not the same as the Premier League or whatever they call it in Spain, for example. So it is really hard to find a uniform set of eligibility rules that covers every single situation. But I think most people can agree. I think most fans, and I can tell you for a fact because I've heard from a number of them, even a lot of Alabama fans are queasy about the sight of Charles Bediako in an Alabama uniform again. They know the signal it sends to the rest of college basketball. And while, yes, a lot of coaches who are speaking out against it would probably do the same thing if they had the opportunity, it's just a bad look, and it's not good for the sport because it further blurs and comes close to erasing the line between college and pro sports. And I know a lot of us don't want to erase that line. Yeah. We want there to be a difference between college football, college basketball, and the NBA and the NFL.
And the most improbable sympathizer with Bediako is none other than Stephen Pearl at Auburn yesterday.
That was really interesting, wasn't it? What Stephen said, that he feels for Charles because what if he loses this hearing, this request for an injunction, and his season ends right now? That's possible. That could happen today.
That might be like elite level psychological warfare, you think?
But he did. I will say, and people scoff when I say this. Nate Oates, one of the reasons that Alabama supported Charles Bediako, a very important reason, beyond his ability to help their team on the floor this year, they know Charles Bediako. He was part of the program for 2 years. He's a good dude.
Yeah,
he's a great teammate. He works hard. He leads by example. And if they did, and they say he's a good student. So if they didn't know those things about him, that would be a little more cynical on their part if they were bringing in someone, a mercenary, a transient who'd never been in Tuscaloosa before. But that's not the case. So they looked at it from a personal level as well as a basketball level. And it was interesting and nice to see Stephen Pearl do the same yesterday.
Well, I know you got to go to a meeting, but I'm with both of y'all. Charles Bediako is just a pawn in this game, and the big picture is we don't want to erase that line between amateur and pro. And the NCAA, we remember Walter Byers, we remember all the stuff that was said about Kevin. You're coming back in at 1:30, so
yes.
We'll pick back up on this. But you are the man for basketball. John Brady had a great discussion yesterday. I got to get you on next Thursday with Coach Brady and Hartwell and Matt
all right,
Dean.
Guys. I'll be back. All
right. Doug, you brought up a great question. And when you sent me that, and Duff is having some Wi-Fi issues. I know he's down at Carnival, getting ready for Carnival right now in New Orleans. But it could happen anywhere. And it came up about the European players. So Kevin just answered that. They're not going to college, then to the pros, and then coming back. Now, they do play in those pro leagues, but it's kind of like baseball, isn't it? Remember, John Elway played baseball, but was a quarterback at Stanford. So he could take money for baseball, but not for football.
This is a little bit tortured, but I guess the NCAA and ruling about these players from over European League and all, European League and the NBA are not equals. So I guess the feeling was it's enough of a minor league. It's not under the rules. There's stuff. It's not under the rules of college basketball. But, I mean, there's inconsistencies abound. And here, to me, is one of the signs when you know that you've got to – can you hear me, Rob?
Oh, yeah.
When you know you've got problems is when we are reading about attorneys filing suits more than we're reading about the games, then something needs to be reined in.
I totally agree. It's like I said about pro sports, guys, for a long time. Too often players are known for the size of their contracts, or they're sitting out and not showing up versus diving for loose balls on the basketball court, or making game-saving tackles when they've got a jammed finger, or coming up like Kirk Gibson in the 1988 World Series. Can you believe it, Jack Buck? Guys, how lucky were we growing up hearing guys like that on the radio? I defer to the counsel of Frank Duffy, who is a radiologist junkie, as we all are. Frank, you're back with us. Happy Carnival.
Happy Carnival, guys. Mardi Gras is next week, and we're excited down here. We're having a blast. By the way, I could hear every word y'all said. The gremlins just wouldn't let my face show, and I think that's because I do have a face for radio, not for video streaming. No, you're right. Well, two things I wanted to mention, Rob. You're exactly right. The radio broadcast of basketball, really much more so for baseball, the painting of the picture. And by the way, my buddy John Brady does a wonderful job on LSU basketball. In fact, I went to a game last week and went down and said hi to him and Chris Blair and my buddy Dixon McMakin, who is the PA guy. He took over for Dan Bornay. But yeah, you're exactly right. There's something about radio broadcasts that just paint a great picture. Going back to the court situation in Alabama, if they do want to change venue, I'm sure I can get Judge Robichaux in Acadiana Parish to be able to sit in, and I can assure you will not go well for the Crimson Tide if we do have that change in venue.
Yeah. Well, Gary Harris was on yesterday, sports director, WVUA Channel 23 in Tuscaloosa, and co-host with Rodney Orr of Tider Insider TV. And he said, I don't like it. Of course, we're all in the same age group. He doesn't like it. Like I said, I've talked to Judge Roberts before. I know his wife. It's a random deal the computer throws out, and they say, you've got to make a decision. I do know that. No one is that. I do know that. But
I guess he could have recused.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You,
Out of the
you
gate.
could recuse. I would have recused immediately. That's just me. But I don't know the circumstances. But I know he's a good man. But look, it's not a good look for college sports. We can't be doing it. Doug, you're there in Birmingham, and Kevin said it best. Even Alabama fans, a lot of them are really queasy about this. It's kind of like you cheating on your golf score. Your honor is dearer than your life. That's the motto of my great-great-grandfather. It's on his headstone. I think that's a big deal.
You know, what's interesting, I don't know if my audio is great, or maybe my headset. I'll just hang in there anyway.
You're all great, Doug.
It's actually
Thank
good.
you. Oh, good. Okay. It's intriguing to me, and I'm sure that good Bama fans are thinking about this. And how many times have we all seen, unless you're a consensus number one or top 4 basketball team heading into Selection Sunday, we've seen our teams get hosed with seeding. And I could give you a couple of examples of Auburn. That 2019 team, I think, was better than a 5. I think they started a 5 seed, if I remember. And it happens to most teams not named Duke or North Carolina, if you will. But I would wonder, is it in the air, kind of like the O.J. Simpson trial, that became about a racial bias of police, when that may not have been at the heart of that case, but I digress. Is it going into Selection Sunday, if Alabama really objectively, Bediako or not, let's assume Bediako is allowed to play the rest of the season, regular season. If Alabama is looking like a 3 or 4 seed, does the selection committee get biased about how they did it, bringing in a G League player? I don't think they would. I think they'd say, we're going to go by RPI and Ken Palm and all those metrics. But you at least have to be a little concerned if your own league commissioner, most of your rival coaches, and a simple majority of the nation thinks this doesn't pass the smell test.
Yeah. Well, Frank, you have to ask the question, why do it in the first place? John Brady was on with us yesterday with John Hartwell. Matt Dean was out yesterday, but that's a basketball-heavy panel, and Gary Harris joined us. None of them like this decision. None of them. And John Brady, wow, I love that guy. Thank you so much for the introduction to him. And one of these times I'm going to get down to New Orleans when they do the Final Four and go to that party that he has, that you invited me to, with all those coaches. But
the Desi Bagel party. It is
Brady's high IQ. He's a high IQ hoops.
Yeah, and he's just he gets it. And why we don't have coaches on SEC Network or something with his wisdom and insight is beyond me. But Frank, you look at LSU, for example. You saw what Lane Kiffin said. Walking through the cafeteria, he goes, "You got the greatest baseball players in America, in college, in the world. You've got the gymnastics. You've got all these at LSU." He goes, the football. He goes, it's just did you hear him on TV on signing day, which was kind of a like non-event now, talking about what it's like being at LSU, but they can't figure it out in basketball. 4th straight year with Matt McMahon. I can't. In the last 26 years, LSU's been to the tournament only 7 times. How does that happen? Quickly,
it's
Lauren.
mind-boggling. Yeah, honestly, it's mind-boggling, Rob. It really is. I went to the LSU Mississippi State game last week, and we were down 20 points in like the first 8 minutes. And you just can't play basketball like that when you get behind that much. So no, Coach Mack has got big problems. We did beat South Carolina, barely got by him. I thought if he lost that game on Saturday, there was no way he was going to be able to make it past Monday. So look, the shoe's going to drop. We're going for another basketball coach. LSU basketball is a quandary because you saw what my good buddy John Brady had him playing in 2006, and of course Dale Brown's incredible quarter of a century run. So we have the makings of a great program. We've got all the resources. I mean, again, we've got it in football, we've got it in gymnastics, we've got the powerhouse in baseball. Which, by the way, thank you, Lord, that baseball is starting. I mean, we're so excited. We haven't looked forward to trying to go back-to-back in national championships more than what we looked this year because of the football disaster with Brian Kelly, the embarrassment of the A&M game, this basketball situation. So you're right, Rob. There's no excuse. You cannot have excuses for why a major men's program at a school like LSU in the SEC cannot field a good team. This is no excuse.
Rob, not Rob and Duff. I've got a lot of love for my LSU brethren, but I'm here to help, Duff. Since you guys have already embraced the Darth Vader persona with Lane Kiffin, all right, what you gotta meditate on and survey the landscape of great basketball coaches and which program is riding high and has, like Ole Miss football, has changed their baseline and they dearly want to hang on to their head coach. Who can you go after to piss them off and bring in a can't miss? You can't bring Wade back, I don't think. But
I was going to say, that's where we go. We go to North Carolina State and get Wade back. That would be the coup de, what is it called?
Can you do that?
Honestly, I don't think he would come. I think he's happy in North Carolina State. I've got very good friends that are high boosters from Lake Charles. And when he went to McNeese and turned it around to be able to be hired, man, they were so livid that we let him go. And look, he is a phenomenal coach and he had us winning. But I don't think you can go back down that road. It'd be like Bobby Petrino back with the Hogs. It's just a bad look.
It is, but dare I say, you could make him, to use his own words, a strong ass offer.
Well, I was just going to interject this point in reference to Charles Bediako, Back to the Future, doing it in football. It was kind of you set me up for that. But I look at LSU. We grew up, Dale Brown, 25 years. Man, just hearing him in the post-game radio was priceless. From North Dakota, somebody ought to do a book or a 30 for 30 on the Dakotas and what they brought to the South, people from North and South Dakota. By the way, my man, Dean Nelson, the egg man up on Crowley's Ridge, who I get my farm fresh eggs from 10, 15, 20 dozen at a time, is a Bison fan. And Chris Kleiman, four-time national champion coach at North Dakota State, who just stepped down after 7 years at Kansas State, after replacing the legendary Bill Snyder, Lazarus of college football, did a great webinar with our friend John Hartwell, Jeff Schimmel, and Miss Dosh, attorney at Florida. It's College Sports Solutions yesterday. I recommend everybody watch that, about what Kleiman said. He goes, if you need to get 20 kids out of the portal, you got to go evaluate 600, Doug Dean. Kind of like interviewing people to work where you were.
Yeah, and I wanted to introduce this is sort of a finer legal point. Full disclosure, I'm not an attorney, but I hang around with a lot of them.
More than one.
Yeah, not because I'm in trouble at this stage. That can change any day. But on the Mensa case, and by the way, am I the only one that sees the irony in a Duke sort of their nose up in the air academically?
Yeah,
and they earned it. It's a fine institution.
Fine school.
And if I graduated Duke, first of all, I wouldn't have been smart enough to ever get admitted at Duke University. But if I did, I would probably have my nose a little bit up in the air. But that a quarterback's name at Duke is called Mensa. The irony.
Exactly.
So he's gone. But here's what I think. An attorney was on air and made a point that I think's not well understood by most fans. Well, that's not fair to Duke. They should sue to get their money back. They did. They tried that and they could do it. But here's the difference. It's sort of a toothless legal claim, and here's why. He's not they weren't suing under employment. He didn't damage them in terms of wins and losses. The only basis they can get their case heard is related to NIL. His contract with Duke was, I will come here and they believe that, pick a number, if it was $3 million, I don't recall what Mensa was getting at Duke, but it was big seven figures if I remember. They were paying that because it would help the name, image, and likeness of him and of Duke football. So, and that's a lot harder claim to prove to a jury or in terms of leveraging, trying to get a settlement. So when you see all these lawsuits falling apart and never seeing the light of day before a jury, then it tends to embolden athletes and coaches and ADs to keep pushing the envelope to see how much they can get away in this interim. Let's say it's 3 years before we bring some sanity to creating something of a level playing field.
And the players have that sense of entitlement as well, because look, Mensah left Tulane and went to, a leopard doesn't change his spots. So he started this entire situation himself by leaving and going.
Zebras don't change their stripes, just their watering holes. That's exactly what my estate planning attorney always said, having had to settle some marital estates and stuff. If you don't have a plan, an estate plan, and you die or you go through a divorce, it's like two farmers fighting over a milk cow. One's pulling on the head, others pulling on the tail, the lawyer's milking the cow.
Probate is no fun, buddy.
No.
Kevin, we were just talking about the curious Mensah departure from Duke. What was your high-level take on that situation?
It just, like a lot of things, makes me queasy. A lot of things about college athletics, everybody, look, we've reached the point now where it almost seems that you can't win a national championship unless you go get a quarterback.
Yeah.
That you can't you don't develop a quarterback and win it all that way. Which is going to be interesting for Alabama this year because they're trying to do that. They're trying to win. Now, Austin Mack obviously was a transfer from Washington, but he's been there a couple of years now with Kalen DeBoer. So, look, the proof's in the pudding. Look at who's winning national championships now. It's people who are going out and getting quarterbacks, whether they're just 1 year rentals or whether they stay a couple years. But he signed a 2 year. From what I understand, he signed a 2 year deal with Duke.
Yeah.
And look, every contract usually almost always has an out clause, right? We see it with coaches, and there are penalties when you leave early, or there should be written into the contract. So the whole thing, I don't know. It's not college to me. Again, it's one of those situations, and it's a trend that is erasing that line between college and pro sports.
Well, it's been successful. It's been
because, and that's why it's going to continue, Frank. Yes, absolutely. Because it works. It works.
Look, Joe Burrow and my boy Jaden Daniels, living proof.
Oh my goodness!
I'm doing a Kirby Smart. Is this a timeout or am I clapping, Doug?
Are you clapping?
I got a quick question I wanted to ask y'all. This just came in from one of my brilliant group texts, Ed Kaiser, about Ja Morant, talking about behavior off the court. Morant has, quote, negative value. Brian Windhorst breaks down why teams were not willing to take a chance on Ja Morant at the trade deadline. This stuff matters, what these kids are doing in college, guys, and I'm throwing that out there. And, Doug, you're right. Mensah, I think they reached a settlement. But I know when Madden Iamaleava left Arkansas, when his brother Nico went to UCLA, he got $400,000 from Arkansas and didn't play a down. I'm going to be I'm going to be at a gathering with the Razorback Foundation people. I'm going to ask, guys, all of us have been paid to do certain jobs. We all know this. You have to fulfill the contract. If they keep letting these kids slide, the enablers are the adults. The kid, if you tell them they can't do this, they won't do it. So somebody's got to step up and slap them down.
Well, Rob, I've said this for years.
Yeah.
Who's writing these contracts?
Yeah.
Think about these coaching contracts with these absurd buyouts. I mean, he's the king of it. Yes. I mean, go back to our friend Gus Malzahn.
Oh, yeah.
In 2017 at Auburn, and Arkansas is interested. And I can tell you to a fairly high degree of certainty, there was no way on this earth that Gus was going to leave Auburn for Arkansas. He knew you couldn't win at Arkansas the way you could win at Auburn. And yet they played it perfectly. They played Stephen Leath, the worst president in Auburn history. I think Doug will back me up on that. And
how about Dr. Muse, William V. Muse?
Well, he would be on the short list, but no,
he's 1A.
Leath takes the cake. And so Gus got this ridiculous extension and raise with this ridiculous buyout, which is why when they decided to fire him in 2020, he had, up to that point, the largest buyout in college football history. So a lot of the blame goes on the administrators, who continually get played by agents. They got played by coaches' agents for a long time. Now they're getting played by players' agents.
Let's talk about, since you injected it, Auburn misery, the doctrine of Jabba, just Auburn being Auburn. Stephen Leith, and I don't mean to be unkind to board members who made the best thoughtful decision they thought they could at the time, but Stephen Leith's disastrous hire, that begat Alan Green. Nice guy, and Alan Green begat Brian Harsin because they hung out in a hot tub together or a swimming pool 10 years prior. And that was a Hail Mary hire because we had 3 parallel searches going on, Kevin, that the coup to put Kevin Steele on the throne, and then the real search committee, I guess, board approved, and then the desperation Hail Mary hire, Alan Green. He got called by the law firm in Birmingham that was Harsin's agent, not Sexton. And that's how it just fell in his lap. And then it needs to be said, with the Iron Bowl of basketball coming tomorrow, 3:00 in the Neville, Alabama's playing better. Only Auburn, Rob, Duffy, Kevin, would have Aiden Holloway play miserably his freshman year for Bruce, only to transfer to Alabama. And Pettiford can't buy a 3-point shot right now, and that can change any game. And Aiden Holloway looked like an All-American the way he was hitting shots. And did you see that he's falling to the ground and is able to flip the ball up and it swishes the net? So good for him, but it only happened by virtue of the Jabba doctrine. Kevin well knows.
Well, wait a minute. I thought John Cohen had tried to flip that on its ear and suggest that just Auburn being Auburn meant going to the Final Four and going to the College World Series. And, well, it's been a while getting to the SEC championship game and the national championship game. But you're right. Aiden Holloway, by the way, has developed so nicely in Tuscaloosa. He is he was hit and miss last year, his first year playing for Nate Oates, but he has adapted to that system, and they have developed him, and he has become a big-time player. And that circus shot, that was on the baseline where thankfully in Coleman Coliseum, the media seating area is still somewhere far below the roof. Unlike in Neville Arena, Doug, where I'll be tomorrow, and I need binoculars and a telescope to be able to see what's happening on the floor. Not that I'm complaining or anything, but I was in that game in Tuscaloosa the other night. It was he's become really good, and he didn't have enough time.
Kevin,
freshmen are hot and cold, and Todd Pettiford's had to be the guy this year, and he hasn't been the guy. And they've got Keyshawn Hall, who is the guy who may be the best pure scorer in college basketball. So that game tomorrow, you thought 100-97 was exciting when Alabama beat A&M the other night. If this game tomorrow doesn't end up at least in the 80s, there might need to be an investigation.
Oh, it's getting to the
these teams.
It's getting to the.
These teams are really good on offense. These teams are really good on offense.
The over and under is 176.5. So yeah, it's going to get up there.
Well, over. Here, Kevin and Doug, about the Board of Trustees. Alabama's Board of Trustees is completely different the way they do it, and it works. Auburn's is like the bar scene in the original Star Wars movie. It's crazy. I mean, and I can tell you for a fact, I did some digging on this, okay? They call Leith the $100 million mistake. That's the worst president ever, okay? And Doug chronicled all the disastrous decisions. But you had powerful board members who went along with the hire just to show a united front. I mean, that's absurd. And Auburn has been in a bear market since then. And as far as Gus goes, I know someone who was in the building back December 5th of 2017, the day after the loss to Georgia, and was listening to it. Gus wasn't even there. He was in Memphis recruiting a kid that ended up at Tennessee. But they should have said, hey, called his bluff. And you wrote a great column. When are these ADs, presidents, whatever, going to stop letting these agents bully and cajole them into signing these disastrous contracts? Maybe when they're held financially responsible, and accountable. Because if there are three things you got to have to be successful: responsibility, that defines the mission; authority, you can hire or fire people; and then accountability. If you don't have accountability, you've got nothing. You've got what we've got right now, guys. I mean, I'm just throwing some red meat out there. And everybody watching, by the way, share, like, and subscribe. See this guy in the bottom right-hand corner, Scarbo Knows? He's a badass. He is writing so much and putting out so much content right here on this channel and on Twitter. Doug and Frank, and we got the best EP in the world, Brendan Martin, making all this stuff clear on the video screen. So I digress. Go back to y'all.
Well, there's no accountability because the boosters keep bailing them out, Rob. When they make a mistake, the boosters just come in and clean it up, like Mr. Wolf and what was it? Gosh, what was the name of the movie? Whatever it was. Mr. Wolf gets in his Ferrari and shoots that Pulp Fiction. Comes shooting down the road. Comes in with a briefcase of
the
cash.
Fixer. Yeah,
Mr. Wolf. And fixes everything, and it's gone. Look, we did that with Brian Kelly. They didn't even see us carry his body out in the bag. There was just cash everywhere. It was a trail of cash, and that was it. That's why these administrations make these stupid, boneheaded contracts, because they know they're not held responsible for them. And look, in Doug's world, in corporate management, if you did that, Doug, and you hired a couple hires like that, you'd be out on the street, wouldn't you?
Oh, sure. And I couldn't help but think of Mr. Wolf. First thing he wanted to do, can you make me some coffee? I don't know why I found that so funny. Because you got blood everywhere and they got to eliminate forensic evidence. He just wants a cup of coffee.
Y'all know where Quentin Tarantino, the director of that movie, is from?
No.
You're not going to believe it. Knoxville, Tennessee. He's from there, and no one would ever think that. And I remember the Wolf, the Fixer. You know, they had a problem because, hey, you guys just disappear for a while. I'll take care of this. What gets me is handling people's money professionally since 1991. If you lost somebody, I mean, wow, that's why you tell people on the front end the good, the bad, and the ugly. What are the costs? What are the expenses? It's called full disclosure. But bailing people out. You remember when Merrill Lynch fired that guy Stanley O'Neill? He was so bad. They gave him $147 million to go away.
Yeah, parachute. Crazy.
I mean, stop giving the parachutes.
Hey, guys, I got to run. I'll see y'all. I got to get Ron into a float event. Y'all take care. Happy Carnival.
Happy Carnival. Hey, don't you love Frank's the only guy that leaves the show to go to a float event?
That's right.
Kevin and Rob, I'll be watching with great interest. Everyone will this football season. I've counted, I think I can distinct, almost like their species, about 9 or 10 different models of how to deploy the total NIL spend at different programs. And of course, what's right in front of our face right now is getting old and staying old with guys that, from JMU and unusual places overall. And then, of course, bringing in a very elite quarterback. I don't think Cignetti knew that the ceiling was that high with Mendoza, a year ago. But then there's the model of the highest bidder, Texas Tech, A&M, Texas Longhorns, Ohio State, a few others, that they've got seemingly unlimited. Michigan, you could add to that. Unlimited funds. I don't know why they aren't having to defend valuations that high. But we'll find out if there's any teeth in that in governance body. And what Alex Golesh is doing, I'm less in tune with other SEC programs, but Golesh they had hoped to spend under $3 million. They, in the end, were able to spend apparently a little over $3 million total NIL to try to make sure of quality. And then the last point, I'd love Kevin
or 30 million.
Wait, 3 million or 30 million?
30 million.
I apologize, 30 million.
Yeah.
I left a decimal out. But obviously 30 million. Auburn had hoped to spend 25. They spent over 30 million. And what's going to be interesting, a la NFL rosters of often 53 with a practice squad of 17, they can carry legally is up to 90. They almost never do. And so you'll see Golesh and others make hard decisions. I'm going to settle in the total roster in the low 90s even though NCAA allows 105. So, Kevin, comment on the different models. There's not a right answer. It's who gets lucky the most at portal evaluations, and Signetti sure hit the lottery on that a year ago.
To me, with everything that's going on in college sports, that was good for the college game. That Indiana did put its roster together that way and did go on and have an undefeated national championship season. Hopefully it opens some eyes that this is not just about money. And I know Mark Cuban's on board now. He wasn't at the beginning when Signetti got there. He wasn't pumping money into their NIL war chest. Now he is. Now he's on board, but because he's seen proof of concept. But when they brought those guys in from James Madison, it wasn't like they were beating off LSU and Auburn and Alabama and Florida, Texas and Texas Tech for to sign those guys. They weren't well known. They weren't highly regarded, and Signetti knew who they were because they played for him, and they knew who he was, and they trusted each other. And that's what sports is supposed to be about, right? It's putting together a team. It's building a culture. We hear that all the time. And I'll give you a great example close to home. Last night, I was at the Memphis UAB basketball game. Memphis won 90-80. Sincere Parker from Memphis scored 40 points. 35 years after I saw Andy Kennedy score 41 points for UAB as a player. And after the game, UAB, this is amazing. They are 5-5 in conference. They have lost all 5 home games in the American and won all 5 road games. That's extraordinary. Yeah. And I asked Andy Kennedy about it last night, and he said, with the way the game is now, with so many players coming and going, they don't have that sense of pride in the home court. They don't have that sense of tradition, that it means something to wear that uniform in Bartow Arena and defend the honor of the home court. They probably don't even know who Gene Bartow was, who the arena was named after, who founded the program. One of the best basketball coaches ever, who did one of the most amazing jobs ever when he left UCLA and started UAB basketball from scratch. So I thought that was fascinating, his take on it, that it doesn't mean more to them to play in Bartow Arena than it does to play on the road. Yeah. Because they've only been there a few months, most of them, and it's a mostly new roster. So that's why I like what Indiana did, and I hope more people will follow that model. There are certainly some similarities with what Alex Golish is trying to do at Auburn, bringing in a lot of his guys from South Florida, who might not have been the highest rated players in the portal outside of Byron Brown, who's probably the most accomplished quarterback out of the portal. And that's where Auburn has a leg up going into next year. Not only did they get a quality, proven college quarterback, but they got one who's going to be playing in the same system for the same set of coaches. And if that doesn't give you an advantage, I'll be surprised.
And I would add to that, Kevin, the bringing the receivers he brought from USF have to be good enough to help you win. I doubt if any of them are Cam Coleman athletically, but they arrive in Auburn for all of spring, and when the coaches aren't around, they will be like coaches for the other wide receivers in the room, and that's got to accelerate your ability to have cohesion. If it doesn't, I'll just say, well, Auburn maybe needs to consider discontinuing football.
Let me throw something out there real quick before we go to Brad Bellamy, Landers Ford. Big announcement about Kent Ritchie. This is one of the coolest announcements I have ever read. I tell you what all they do in the community, but I'm going to say this. Of the 4 branches, and with all due respect to the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and technically the Marines are part of the Navy, what's the least funded of all branches, yet the most feared fighting force in the history of the world? United States Marine Corps. They get less money than anybody. They get the split end of the stick, if you know what I mean. Another thing, a school like Texas or Texas A&M, where there's so much money and so little accountability, a lot of these kids are just going there for the money, and they're not invested. In basic training in the Army, I was told by a gunnery sergeant that I know, my brother-in-law, you get 10 hours of Army history, maybe, in basic training in 13 weeks. In the Marine Corps, you get 100+ hours. Now, pride. Pain is temporary. Pride is forever. Brad Bellamy, General Manager, Landers Ford, Memphis. I love this guy when he comes on because he's always happy. He's always finding excuses to win. Brad, let's talk about Landers Ford and then jump into this basketball conversation. Share it, like it, subscribe. Thank you.
Hoo-ah, Rob. Hey, yeah. So
we all got hurled into basic training there.
That's right.
So and I don't really know how you got on that tangent from talking about Auburn's loaded
financial responsibility
portal. So, yeah, man, it was really great. This week, Kent Ritchie, owner of Landers Automotive Group here in Memphis, was honored with a special award from Ford Motor Company. So, guys, when it comes to Ford dealers and the give back in the community, there are so many things that go unseen. There are so many things that get done. There are things that in every community across the United States, whether it's disaster relief, education, athletic programs. I mean, our athletic programs across the country, especially in community youth sports, would not be what they are without the support of local dealers. And so every year, about 20 years ago, Edsel Ford started a program called Ford Salute to Dealer. His son was the one who gave out the awards on Tuesday night out in Las Vegas as part of NADA. So of the 3,000 dealers in the United States, there were 3 that got honored this year as Salute to Dealer winners. And Kent Ritchie was one of those. So, we've talked about it before, but the amount of things that we're involved in, one of the things I love and appreciate about Kent is not only is it about what he's involved in, but he encourages his team, his leadership to also be engaged and involved. And whether it's participating in Rotary or Chambers of Commerce or Kiwanis, my involvement with Agape and the board there,
yes.
It gives me a lot. It's a big part of my why I chose to come to Landers and leaving Ford Motor Company on the corporate side. So it was a tremendous honor to be there to see him recognized. There was a lot of things that I had found out about I wasn't aware of, how much he was involved with Church Health behind the scenes and getting that program up and running years and years ago, and a way to provide free care for a lot of folks that need it here in Memphis. So that, along with the schools, and you talk about that a lot, Rob, about just the engagement. When 10 plus years ago, when a lot of the suburban school districts were founded, Landers became a big part of getting those athletic programs off the ground and provided them some support so that they could do that. So it's a tremendous honor to be a part of this group. And it was awesome to be there with my wife and see him get recognized with a lot of executives at Ford. So thank you for bringing it up. And then, I came back and from that, and we got some unbelievable programs. This is truck month for Ford. Usually those programs start back half of the month. And so what we've done is got a huge program on SUVs right now. So 25 Explorers, there's $6,000 of rebate from Ford. So $8,000 to $9,000 off each one of those that we got. We got about 15 left of the 25 Explorers, $4,000, $4,500 rebates on Bronco and Bronco Sport. So we include that with our discount. You're looking anywhere from $6,000 to $9,000 off. So great deals there. And then we got the best rebate we've had on Expeditions since they rebranded it. So since they relaunched it over the summer, we got $2,000 rebate. I got a Trimmer parked out front that's got $4,000 off of it with the $2,000 at $6,000. So great programs out here. Kids are back in school finally today. Hallelujah.
Wow.
God, I mean, it is amazing. We have not had any winter weather in almost 2 weeks. And our kids are still, in some school districts, still not back in school today. My wife was celebrating at 3:00 yesterday when they finally made the announcement in Lakeland that we had school again. So if there was ever a thing to celebrate, it's the fact that our kids are back in school. And man, flying back on Tuesday, it looked like I was in Michigan because of how much snow was still on the ground. And that's what it felt like when I lived up there. It just stayed forever. So, so come on and see us. The weather's going to be beautiful today, 65 and sunny. We got the inventory. We got the lot cleaned up. I got mounds of snow that'll probably be here until God comes back, Jesus comes back. But we're excited and ready to take care of folks. So come on out and see us. We're here, 2082 West Poplar Avenue, corner of Houston Levy, or go see my friend Kainoa Baldonado, CBHS grad, over at our store that's just opened up on Mount Moriah. So glad to be in here with you guys this morning.
Brad, I will get sports quick enough, but there might be listeners that are equally interested in this. Of the legendary Ford truck lineup, what is your hottest seller the last several years?
I mean, F-150s continue to, I mean, it's America's best-selling truck 49 years in a row. Next year we'll celebrate 50. Laney Wilson will be talking about it again in the Ford Truck Month promotions we got coming up. I mean, the King Ranch is probably the hottest one. It continues to be the hottest one. King Ranch is an actual ranch in Texas that Ford partnered with years ago. And so it's always a great seller for us. Two different engine options, either a power boost engine or a 3.5 liter V6. Raptors continue to stay hot, but across the lineup, I mean, the nice thing about F-150 now is some of that technology that people crave and they want. We have it now anywhere from the lower trims, XL and STX, all the way to the higher trims. So like the Ford Security Pack, which is a huge option, it's free for the first year. It's about $8 a month after that. But you can set your truck to where no one can start it. So if somebody tries to break in, one, you're going to get notified. Window or
Holy.
Also, you lose me? Are we back?
Well, we can hear you, but we just lost your picture. Yeah.
But then also.
Oh, we lost him. Hold on, we lost his picture. But I think that is cool. You got complete control over it. And Kevin, what he was just talking about, what they do for high schools in the Memphis area is unbelievable. I'm concerned about high school programs and high school recruiting. Alabama high school football and basketball better than really anybody, what you do on Alabama public TV. We got questions from people like, where do you think Ole Miss is at right now? I guess he's talking about basketball. Kind of tackle those two kind of quickly, and then we'll go back to hopefully get Brad on.
Well, there is great concern about high school athletes and opportunities for them to play college sports because you have guys staying longer. You have people filing court cases to stay longer or come back in Charles Bediaco's case. Now, Bediaco is not technically taking a spot from a high school player because the roster had an open spot. They weren't going to add a high school player this semester, and this will be the last semester Bediaco plays, whether he plays another game or not. But there is an overall concern there. And I hate that people scoff when Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, says that one of the reasons that they are fighting in court this Bediaco lawsuit is to preserve opportunities for high school athletes. And people kind of snicker at that. No, what are we doing? I mean, is that not what this is supposed to be about? Whether they say the NCAA has got to forget about NIL for this is going to sound crazy. Forget about NIL. Forget about the transfer portal. Yes, we need to tweak some things in those areas. But bottom line, they've got to be able to set their own eligibility standards. And you should not be 26 or 27, whatever Chad Baker Mazzara is now, and be playing college sports. You should not be playing college sports if your last year of high school was 2019. Yeah. And that's the case. Joey Aguilar, I think, check me on this, I think that was his last year of high school football. And he's trying to play another year for Tennessee. It's just not right. It's just not. And look, and yeah, I'm old school in a lot of ways. I was on the forefront of saying, yeah, these guys should get a cut of the revenue they are generating. But we have gone so far above and beyond what's good for the athletes that we're helping to destroy the games that are making them rich.
Correct. Doug Dean, quickly.
Well, gosh, I never could have imagined, Kevin and Rob, that college programs, let's just take the SEC, would slow down signing as many scholarship high school players as the law allowed. I never saw that coming. And now I guess what these high school, the 3 and 4 stars, they're not going to get big $500,000 NIL. So what they got to do is go walk on at a program and hope to prove themselves and then get NIL. Rob?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say we got about 3.5 minutes. I agree totally with you. I think we're going to have this crash and burn, which is what we're close to fix it. I mean, it's so messed up right now. It is, and we will. All right, quickly, Super Bowl picks. I'll start with Kevin. If Brad can jump in, we lost him, but who you got Sunday in the big game? The big eat-a-thon. It really is what it is, and commercials.
Well, I'll preface this by saying I'm not an NFL guy. I rarely watch NFL football. I do watch some of the playoffs. I'm so impressed with the Seahawks. So I think they're going to win the game. I really like what they've done. I love Jackson Smith and Jigba. Offensive Player of the Year. How about that? By the AP. NFL Offensive Player of the Year. I saw his numbers last night scrolling through Twitter. Just insane.
Yeah.
I think they get it done.
All right. Doug Dean.
Yeah, I like the mental toughness of a team that can go into Denver. I don't care if it was Jarrett Stidham playing and win that one, but I don't see how you pick against this Seahawks team unless we're talking point spreads, Rob. I don't even know or really care what the line is in that Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I think Seahawks win it. A pretty close game, but Seahawks find a way in the end.
Yeah, and Dave Bartu was explaining this to me on the show Monday and off the air. Scoring efficiency, offense and defense, Seattle top 5, I think, in both categories. Patriots 12 and 15. He goes, I don't know if the Patriots will score, at least not very much. So I'm taking the Seahawks as well. Those numbers can't lie. They
of greater interest to me, am I right? Kid Rock is doing halftime.
Yeah, on some alternate live streaming.
Alternate halftime show.
Well, look where we are. Hey, look.
What are we doing?
You know, and I tell you what, I want to get back, man. I miss National Signing Day. God, remember you'd wake up from sunrise to sunset and you were sweating bullets for that late guy, and then some of them would wait till Thursday or Friday afternoon.
Some of us got to – go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
No, I said I missed that.
Some of us would take work off that first Wednesday in February and just waiting for the fax machine to tell us – and the flips and the shockers, it's just crazy.
And some of us were trying to figure out where Brent Callaway was being hidden out.
Or Kurt Jarvis and Cornelius Bennett. They disappeared for about, Doug, 3 or 4 days?
In some condo in Pensacola. Golly. And he didn't ever distinguish himself on the field that much, did he?
No, he did not.
God, that's such great memories. Look, folks, Kevin Scarbinsky, consume him, watch him all you can. Scarbo Knows. Doug Dean and I are going to do some great stuff on a podcast here coming up. Got great things happening. The best executive producer in the world, Brendan Martin, putting out so much content. Watch this channel, share it, like it, subscribe. Guys, thank you so much. We'll do it again next week. Let me say something before we go about sponsors we're so blessed to have. We talked about Landers Ford, Brad Bellamy. What an honor for Kent Ritchie. You want to do business with people who give back and love where they live. Landers Ford, they're incredible. They're so benevolent. They put back in the community. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the GM, LandersFordMemphis.com. Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville. Equally generous. They do so much in the Collierville and the Memphis area. Open every day except Sunday. HewlettandDunn.com. Rumble Boxing Gym in Midtown. MyTownRoofing.com. Don't wait till your roof is collapsed to get your roof checked. Do it now. MyTownRoofing.com. Great people to work with. And look, if you have trouble sleeping, aches and pains, hempforpros.com. You hear Dave Bartu on here every week. You got the chill gummies, energy gummies, and the lights out for sleeping. Topical lotions, pain, roll-ons. It's a collaborative nearly a decade with the NFL players. Mike Singletary is the one who put these on the map. He likes them. Tell Mike Singletary that you like them too. Use code Friday 2025 at checkout for 25% off. Hempforpros.com. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Go out and make a difference every day. Find excuses to win. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.